The following program is a Town of Colonie television production of the William K. Sanford Town Library.
Welcome to Albany County News. I'm Mary Rozak, the Director of Communications for Albany County. And in the next half hour or so, we're going to be talking about the Albany County Convention and Visitors Bureau. But most importantly, the person who's been running it for the last about 25 years or so, and Michele Vennard, President and CEO, who is moving on. Welcome, Michele.
Thank you.
You know, when you and I were just back and forth on email, and I said, you know, it just doesn't seem like it's time. I know in October, the word got out that you said, you know what, it's time for me to, you know, to say I want to retire. Are you really going to retire?
I hope not, quite frankly. You know, I hope there are other opportunities out there. I don't move as quickly, but this part still works pretty well.
It works really, really well.
So I'd like to do something. I don't know what that is yet, though.
Probably not. You've been in tourism for over 30 years.
Yes.
I mean, since that's what your life has been, can you see anything in tourism, or you really want to maybe think about something in a different direction?
There's lots of opportunity in travel and tourism, for sure. You know, the industry has changed so much. I mean, I started my career in retail at Macy's and Herald Square, so it's kind of all retail. You know, it's been selling. So, you know, this area and actually the Northeast, we have such a wonderful assets for travel and tourism that, yeah, there could be.
Let's talk about your career. Macy's, you know, every time I go into Macy's, it's like I'm transported to another world. It's just, I enjoy my trips to go shopping. How do you start out at Macy's and wind up leading tourism here for the area?
Well, as I said, it's all retail.
Right.
And that was my degree at what was then Sage Junior College, was in retailing. That doesn't exist anymore. So where better to go than to Herald Square and take the training in Macy's and Herald Square. And then I was fortunate enough to be able to transfer back home and come back up here. And then there were a couple of kids in there that kind of slowed me down a little bit. So I went to work, and another asset that people probably don't realize is I worked for Historic Albany Foundation for a while. Okay. As their first education director, and developed tours of our historic assets.
Oh, wow.
And from that, you know, once the occupancy tax came into effect in the early 80s, then, you know, the Convention and Visitors Bureau was formed actually in '76. So this is really my second tour of duty, because I was the first tourism director when the occupancy tax was enacted, and there was a funding stream at that point. The Bureau broke away from the Chamber.
You need money.
Yeah, but the Bureau had been a part of the Chamber of Commerce, and then it went off on its own with a little bit of funding.
I don't think people realize that, and the purpose of the Bureau really was different when it was first opened. It really was to promote the state capital, is my understanding.
Well, it was. And, you know, we had no real experience, and most of us on the staff of, I think there were 3 or 4 of us at the time.
And now there are 41. I mean, it's grown just a little, but it's been quite a time.
You know, we were really trying to find that purpose. And I recall the one thing that we started with was meetings and conventions and the group tours business, because you can count it. You know, it's business that you can really measure, which was very important, and it's still important today, for sure.
I know that's one of the things that I know that you probably hear a lot. How do you measure? How do we know there's a return on investment? How do you really see those numbers? But there are lots of things that, you know, you and I work together with many news outlets on different things. We're going to talk about the Capitol Center in a moment. We work on, you know, the numbers. I come to you and say, okay, how do we know that we're going to have, you know, butts in the seats and people in the beds and all of that kind of thing. Tell me how that process really evolved to what it is today, with first trying to, you have the numbers for conventions, those are solid, but the evolution of that whole process of trying to figure out what that ROI is and how that came about.
Well, we're fortunate in that we've been Destination International members for many, many years. And seeing how the business has evolved, they've actually developed tools. It used to be a little bit of a dark game in the past, but now there are tools that are developed that can take us by industry segment, whether it's a sporting event or it's a meeting, and let us figure out, again, it's formulated, but let us figure out what that means to the destination, which is so important to everyone. The more real numbers we can plug in, the better numbers we get. And that's one of the things we are working with the Capitol Center on now, too.
Sure, with the Capitol Center, with the Times Union Center. I know that, when we talk about the NCAAs coming in and the MAC tournament and all of that, solid numbers and having a means, that's really your strongest sales tool, right?
Right, and you can track it then year to year. I mean, think about the tracking that we've been able to do with MAC and seeing, good years and not so good years, but quite frankly, this market has many more better years than other destinations do with MAC. Some of those things you were just talking about, the New York State Association of Counties convention. We can track that year to year and really talk about the value. American Legion is another one that we see at the end of every January. So, these are very important numbers for not only for us, but for the planners as well.
Sure. And I know as we're talking about NYSAC, the New York State Association for Counties, as we're taping this, they're having their winter conference. And talking to their executive director, I said, I could not believe at the luncheon, he said, there were like 800 people. Yeah. And that is truly grown.
Yes, it has. I mean, I remember speaking at the NYSAC convention when it was down in one of the, when there were still the old resorts in the Catskills. And it has grown. And I think people understand, whether you're in a county or, a conference of mayors or, that there is power and there is leverage, especially here in the state capitol, to be speaking with one voice.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the timeline for you, because I want to talk a little bit about you came back up here from Herald Square, but there was a time that you were with the state and you were doing something very different. Let's talk about that. I mean, it was tourism, but it was
it was certainly during the beginning, kind of. It was about 10 years old. I remember we did a 15-year anniversary while I was there of the I Love New York program. And it was very exciting. Of course, if you look at lots of resumes, you know that the I Love New York program had lots of parents, a lot of people claim that they were part of the I Love New York campaign.
Sure.
But it was very exciting, and I think it gave me, certainly for 5 years, a much better understanding, again, of our state, of the assets that we have in state that draw people here, and also of the great people who are really trying to make sure that, as we just talked about, travel and tourism is a legitimate industry and is counted as economic development.
I can still hear when we're saying I Love New York, I can still hear that jingle, that song, the I Love New York. I wish it were still on. There are some things that should never go away.
I agree.
I think that's one of them.
Steve Carmen would probably agree with you, too, who wrote the song.
But it stuck with you, and you would be singing it throughout the course of the day, and not like one of those songs that you would say, I can't believe I hate this song, but I'm singing it. It just had that jingle to it. So you were with the state, and then you left.
Yep, it was certainly. It was also during a time when we were seeing really draconian cuts to state budgets.
Yep.
And I walked in the door at about $23 million, and I walked out the door at about $3.
Wow.
And that
Wow.
was just the reality, and this was the first Cuomo administration, and things were tough. You might remember that there were headlines, and people were stabbing the heart, and it was just a very difficult time. I think what's happened, and I feel very confident has happened, is there's now a better understanding of the value of this business to destinations. So
Sure.
we never saw that again once it came back. There has been consistent funding, and certainly now Governor Andrew Cuomo has taken a real liking to travel and tourism and is working well.
And now promoting, and we'll see another expansion of the Taste New York
Yeah.
program. And I know Taste New York is at the Times Union Center, but if you drive the Thruway, to be able to stop on the Thruway and to promote the local products. So then you came
Came home again.
I guess yep. You came home again, and what? Yeah. Let's talk about some of the things. Were there things you've been there for 25 years? Mm-hmm. When you think about your time at ACCVB, tell me some things that stick out. What are some of the most memorable things in the 25 years of your being there and working the projects?
Wow, there have been so many. Certainly, everyone says, "Well, now that the Capitol Center is done, you can retire easily." But with the whole process of getting that project done and the number of RFPs and proposals that we had, certainly.
There were different sites. There were different different things.
Yeah, and but I think mostly watching. I think the most satisfying thing is watching the industry grow and get legitimized as much as anything.
Okay.
We've had great events and always in this area and certainly in the region. Mm-hmm. So that's really been important to us. Getting to celebrate 400 years of history, getting to celebrate, Henry Hudson's voyage, mm-hmm. Getting to celebrate our own tricentennial. Mm-hmm. Those are all real highlights, I guess. And it also says what a rich area we are to have all these assets.
Those are all pluses. You mentioned Henry Hudson, and how disheartening though that the Half Moon isn't here.
Well, I tell everyone, Mary, there's a very important word in the Half Moon. The Half Moon is a replica ship. Mm-hmm. It could be replicated.
It could be replicated. And that could happen.
Well, it could, and I hear up and down, I work with colleagues up and down the Hudson Valley, and we all recognize that while we have magnificent waterfronts, we really aren't, as a region, taking as much advantage of them as we should.
Is that something, I'm talking with Michele Vennard from the Albany County Convention and Visitors Bureau, is that something you're saying we should be doing more of, working more together up and down?
Absolutely.
So as you've done a lot of things over the 25 years, and I know that I'm getting ahead of myself because you have been working with the board, and there have been some transitioning of sorts as you are looking to leave. One of the things that the website revamp, mm-hmm. Discover Albany. Mm-hmm. You want to talk about some of that as the board is looking for its next leader, and how you help prepare for that?
Well, it's just a decision we really made in 2016 that it was time to do that, time to take a look at our website. It's amazing. They don't last very long, mm-hmm. and they look dated very quickly. So it was something that we knew we needed to do in order to make this destination attractive, not only to visitors, but to a next leadership person, mm-hmm. And that's been very important. If we had a little more budget, I think we could have made and will make a bigger splash as we go on, as we have more opportunity to promote Discover Albany. Mm-hmm. But it was very important to us. I mean, that's part of what travel and tourism and hospitality marketing is now, and that is, keeping up with and making sure that you're the best destination you can be, and your trends, you're watching those trends so that you're keeping up with mm-hmm. Other destinations.
Now I know the name bears Albany County, and I know that we promote Albany as the capital city. But talk to me about how the promotion is for other parts of the county and some of the other things people might not be familiar with.
Right. Well, we have some experience working with the hill towns. I mean, that's another one of those assets that that really is not promoted enough. We were so pleased to see the new facilities at both Thatcher Park and Five Rivers. I mean, that's fantastic, and it gives us a brand new opportunity to sell to a brand new market, just like the bike trail does from Slingerlands down to the river, for sure.
Yep.
The area that we're sitting in right now, we've been working over the past year with our colleagues on Wolf Road. To say, hey, this is great assets now. Those sidewalks have made a huge difference in how people travel through and around Wolf Road. And we have to make sure that those assets stay strong too, whether they're restaurants or hotels. Even the library here is involved in this Wolf Road project that, we need to get our marketing legs underneath us and make sure that, that's part of it. I just talked about the waterfront. It's a lovely waterfront. It's a very natural waterfront. Do we think it could be developed more? Yeah, I think so. Capitalize Albany is working on that skyway that would connect to the waterfront as well. But you look at all the Cohoes is another one. And the falls. We've taken international visitors to Cohoes Falls about this time of year in the winter time when it's flowing, but it's not totally frozen, and it's phenomenal. People don't understand.
I cannot believe I'm going to say this, but I have lived here for almost 20 years and have never been to Cohoes Falls. And my husband constantly, every so often, he'll bring it up. And I've got to get there.
You admit that on television.
I know. So now I'm committed because I've said that. I don't want another year to go by.
And the Erie, we forget that we're the terminus of the Erie Canal. And while there aren't many vestiges right in Albany, certainly to look at those falls and Cohoes and say, hey, wait a minute, nobody could get around them. So here was the first canal, which is off to the left, and now you've got the great asset that's our canal now.
There are so many other things, though, too. I know that we've had other folks from the Bureau come in and talk about them. But, you are responsible for helping with film locations and things like that. That seems to have really taken off over the last, 7 years or maybe more. How integral was that as a part of when you said, okay, we need to have this vision and keep pushing in a different direction? How did that play into that?
Well, I think I'm going to go back to my state service because I worked very closely with the governor's film office in travel and tourism when I was at the state level. So we always knew that the opportunity was here, and just reported to the board last week that the activity in film just in Albany County generated a little over 1,300 hotel room nights. That's the size of a pretty good sized convention.
Sure.
And what we see, like so much of what we do and how we market, is now we've got a reputation, and it's word of mouth. We also have great partners in Saratoga County, in Schenectady County, and in Rensselaer County, because we may think we know what a producer is looking for and have a vision in our head, but theirs is generally much different than what we're looking at.
And sometimes they're looking for more than one site, and some can be Albany and some can be elsewhere.
Yeah, and we've been fortunate, and our film commissioner, Deb Gedeke, who I know has been here, also to get several sites locally for post-production and approved by the governor's office for post-production purposes. That brings people in for a longer period of time, not just the shoot.
Very successful. There must be something that's on the table that you said, geez, I know it's been 25 years, but I really wish I did more of. How would you finish that sentence? This is what I would like to have worked more on or taken us in this little direction.
Well, I think it's the relationship building. I think, I know how busy we are. And I know we're working in a time when technology is so important and so key in selling the destination. But there's a strange dichotomy going on, and that is unless you build those relationships with the folks in the Hilltown or the folks in Cohoes or whatever, and there just is never enough time to get all that done. And also rarely enough budget to get it all done as well.
Sure. You are, tell everyone where you're located.
We are at Plaquemines Square, and which will be very exciting within the next year because the Quackenbush project is moving forward. It's a very big hole off the back of our building, but Quackenbush Square is on the corner of Broadway and Clinton Avenue, and I think when that project gets done, you're going to see a transformation to that little neighborhood that you've never seen. We're seeing it now.
Now, is that the apartments and things that I just read that were just, okay.
And also another 136-room hotel.
Okay.
So when you think of all those charming restaurants, the pump station and the Old English are right there. It's a wonderful place to really, it's right at the highway, so it's a wonderful place to greet visitors when they come in. I invite anybody to come down and take a look at our world map and see where the push pins come from, all over the world.
Really?
Yeah.
It's not far from the Palace.
Nope, I can see the Palace.
Tell me about that. Are you still on the board?
I am.
Because you, as if you're not busy enough, you serve on boards. So you think, is that one of those things that it's part of that whole relationship thing? It's you're invested in the community and you have that role.
That's right. And I think the Palace, and there are so many things going on between there and the warehouse district, that the Palace itself and now that the board has taken over the responsibility of getting the restorations done. It's really important. It's a huge linchpin for that neighborhood and for downtown.
Capital Rep. Capital Rep sounds like it's moving.
Sounds like it.
How much, when you have the Palace, you have the Times Union Center, you have Capital Rep, there's a lot going on there. It's really kind of relatively close, so to speak, right now. Moving Capital Rep or any a little further away, how does that impact the downtown in your estimation, or do you see that as part of the growth?
I think it can be the growth. I mean, think about where the warehouse district is, and that's even a little farther north. So that could be a link as well. But I certainly understand, and I can understand why Cap Rep needs to get out of the facility it's in.
Sure.
Yeah, you could build a theater district. We just need that energy to keep things moving.
How do we keep, we've often heard, that Albany rolls up the streets at 5 o'clock.
Not anymore.
Not for a while. Still not quite where we'd like to see it, though. How do we keep that energy going? How do you make that happen?
Well, another board that I sit on is Capitalize Albany, and certainly the Impact Albany project that went on over the past several years. The key was to get people to live downtown. And that's what's happened. You see it time and time again. That certainly the new apartments that are going in, and some of them are condos as well, has made a big difference. Therefore, we now have a dog park because we have dogs.
For those who don't know, the dog park is. Where is the dog park?
The dog park is at Wallenberg Park, which is literally kitty corner from our offices between Broadway and North Pearl Street.
Now, who would have thought there would be a dog park needed? Really?
And that makes the difference. Seeing those outlets. I think of my good friend Skylar Bull, who opened the Fort Orange General Store.
Yes.
And he depends on the foot traffic. So, we've got to keep those, we always talk about heads and beds. We got to keep the feet on the street.
We certainly do.
Yeah.
Speaking of feet on the street, so where does Michele Vennard go on vacation? What do you do? Your travel and tourism is your business. When it comes, you must have to get away, though.
Oh, sure. Everybody does. Everybody needs that break. My husband and I are big football fans, so I often think that people go to Florida. We go to football games.
Really?
Yeah, and really enjoy it. We've spent lots of summers at the beach on Cape Cod with our grown children and 5 grandchildren, which is a great experience. But we're actually putting together now a bucket list, and everybody says, "Well, you're going away." No, I can't do that. What I need to do is get done with this and then figure it out.
Sure. So, Capitol Center, is that probably the biggest, what you would say the biggest thing, biggest accomplishment as we round out, as we circle back and talk about some of the biggest things?
I think so. But I think there's a bigger opportunity there, and that is to really get the Capitol complex working together. We have a great 50,000 square feet at the Capitol Center. But with the Empire State Plaza, with the Egg, with the Times Union Center, we have 160,000 square feet.
So how is that going then in terms of that synergistic marketing kind of attraction?
It's moving. Not, of course, never as quickly as you want it to, but we have some major events coming up that will use all 3, or at least 2 out of the 3, and getting used to, we've not even been open a year, getting used to a one contracting for a client. That's where the difference is, and that's where really the opportunity is, not just the beautiful 50,000 square feet that we have, but the connection of all those great facilities.
And that will happen.
I feel very confident that it will.
So we started out by saying a little while ago, what's next for you? What truly is next? Because you said you're open to kind of thinking about doing something else. Any ideas? Anything you want to share? Any particular area that you...
I have no particular area, truly. Open to almost anything. I probably should go home and clean my house first. Take care of that stuff.
Well, I'm sure you've cleaned it over the last 25 years, but I'm thinking you probably want to do that really deep cleaning.
I'd like to be out in the garden when it's not, twilight.
Sure. Because obviously in your line of work, it's not a 9-to-5 job.
No, it is not. It is not. So we've had great opportunity to meet so many people in so many different walks in life. That's really important to me, and I'm so glad to have been, and hopefully, an integral part of this community.
What are you going to miss most?
I enjoy the office, atmosphere. Not sure how I might do alone in my own little office. I think it's that give and take, and it's the personal relationships and the energy that comes from working with very bright people, and I've had the opportunity to do that for 25 years for sure.
Well, I want to say I haven't worked with you for all 25 years, but it has been a real pleasure. It's going to bring a tear to my eye. A real pleasure working with you. You have been so easy, you and your staff, but being able to reach out sometimes at odd hours to say, right. I need to know this figure, but
in 20 minutes.
In 20 minutes. Yeah. Did I even give you 20 minutes? Sometimes because I need it now. But I just want to say thank you.
Oh, thank you. It's been my pleasure as well.
And we're going to see you.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty.
Yeah.
Thank you, Michele. I'm talking to Michele Vennard, the President and CEO of the Albany County Convention and Visitors Bureau. You've been watching Albany County News. We'll see you again soon.